Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tanisha Dawson, just coming to you with a short excerpt again from my book, Awakening the God/Goddess Within. And today we're going to be talking about the goal is resolution. We're going to be talking about how to deal with conflict. Everyone at some point in their life has had to deal with some form of conflict or whatever, whether it be with coworkers, friends, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. It's a vast world and we all have different personalities, perceptions, point of views and things of that nature. So if that has happened to you 9 times out of 10, we're going to enter into some form of conflict at some point or another in our lives. We're not always going to see eye to eye. So it's not uncommon to get into full-blown spats or even big arguments when there's a disagreement between views, work, related issues, marital conflict, or anything that is a cause for concern. But behind the core of every argument, the goal should be resolution. The goal should be to resolve the conflict and not to stay in the conflict. That's weird. Nobody wants to stay in conflict. Nobody wants to stay angry with people or hold on to unforgiveness or bitterness and resentment and things of that nature. So you want to come to a resolution. And this is where a lot of people lose sight. As you see, I'm looking down at my notes because there's certain things, again, that I want to make sure that I get to you that are very, very, very important points. But this is where many people lose sight in an argument. They don't realize that the goal is to actually resolve the conflict. The goal is not to stay there. Some people actually get lost in the struggle for power. They want to be right. They want their point to be the one that wins the argument. They want their point to be the one that gets across. They actually want to win. And when you get caught up in winning, you'll never actually win because the other party walks away feeling defeated, but they still have their perception and they still have their point of view. So whenever entering into conflict, the goal should never actually be the conflict itself. It should never be to stay in conflict. The goal should be to resolve it. The goal should never be to intentionally hurt the other party. The goal should be to get to the bottom line of the issue and solve the problem. Understood? When you get caught up in winning, arguments can take many twists and turns, and they can end up in a place where you never really intended them to go. This is where immature behavior sets in, such as name calling, belittling, yelling, swearing, and even becoming physical comes into play. And this can cause major issues in the future. You've ever been in an argument with someone and they just hit below the belt? They just say things that don't need to be said. They bring up things that have nothing to actually do with the particular argument that we're having. They want to result to name calling or just, one-upping or just winning. That's not where we're supposed to be. And in the end, no one wins. No one walks away feeling good about the argument. Understand that you may have to enter into conflict to bring about true peace. Now, when I say that, I don't mean physical conflict or aggressive conflict, but sometimes you have to, bump heads a little bit just to enter into true peace. But that does not mean that you have to stay there. All it means is that you might have to enter into a little bit of a disagreement just to bring about peace in your home, peace in the situation, peace with your friend or coworker. You don't want to stay in an area of discontentment, so to speak. So here are some keys to conflict resolution that I'm going to give you guys today. The number 1 is to aim to resolve, not to win. When trying to win, you lose sight of the task at hand. You want to get to the bottom of the problem. You don't want to fight. So again, aim to resolve the problem. Don't aim to win the argument. You will get nowhere and nobody actually wins. It's a lose-lose situation. Stay on topic. This is very important. When you're in the midst of conflict and you're in the midst of a disagreement, an argument, intense or aggressive fellowship, it's very easy to get off the topic at hand and begin to bring up other issues that are off the subject. Stay on topic and you could come to a resolution much quicker. You ever, see people, especially like spouses, they'll argue and they'll talk about something like, well, that's why your mother's cake was nasty on Christmas. Wait, what? Why are we talking about that? And then now your argument goes into a rabbit trail of different issues that weren't possibly brought up in the past. So always stay on topic. Even if you have an issue to bring up, if this is a rule of thumb, this is for free. If you're into conflict with someone, especially a spouse, and they bring an issue up about you that you did something to bother them, the worst thing in the world to do is to bring up something that they did to you. Okay? So we got to stay on task. When they bring the issue to you, you have to deal with the issue, accept the issue, acknowledge the issue, and move forward. But what you don't want to do is say, well, what about what you did last week, when one thing has absolutely nothing to do with the other, and you're going to end up in a whirlwind of conflict that's never going to be resolved if someone doesn't take the higher road. The next one is to speak calmly. The easiest way to escalate a situation is to begin to raise your voice. You don't have to raise your voice. I always tell people when they're in an argument, or if they're upset with me, or if I'm upset with them, listen, you don't have to yell. I'm standing right here. I can hear you perfectly fine in the distance that we are without you yelling. You don't have to yell. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to begin to talk sarcastically or demeaningly. These are all immature behaviors that will take your disagreement to another level. Always try to speak calmly. Yelling causes individuals to automatically become defensive. And when someone's defensive, they're protecting themselves. So in order to protect themselves, they might hurl out insults at you. They might become physical. So you don't want someone to feel defensive. So the moment that you start raising your voice, you cause the other party to feel very defensive, and they might come out fighting even harder. Keep your voices down, which will ultimately keep defenses down. Take the high road. This is our last key. No matter what the other party does, says, or how low they stoop to retaliate, keep your calm. Always keep your calm. Do not resort to name calling, and keep your calm. Just stay level. Stay at a certain place. Don't let someone escalate you out of your character. Don't let someone make you so angry that you act and do something that you're going to regret later, or you're going to wish that you could take back once you go back and think about it. So always keep your calm. I understand. Listen, I am not perfect. I know that sometimes when you get angry, you can act out in a way that is so out of character for you. I've done it myself. But if you just keep your calm, even if they call names, you can just say, listen, I'm not going to name call. I'm not going to do this with you. I'm not going to go there with you. We're talking about this, and I'd like to stay on this. And it's almost unheard of to stay that calm. But if you can kind of take yourself out of the situation and look at the bottom line, which is the goal is resolution, it'll be easier for you to take the high road. If both parties are escalating, this is a sure road to disaster, and a guarantee that resolution will be far beyond your reach. You won't come to a resolution. So if things start to get too escalated, they start to get too heated, take some time off. Just say, you know what, let's take a break from this talk. We'll come back to it in about 10, 20, 15 a day, 24 hours. Who knows? Whatever works for you. But, don't stay in the midst of the escalation. Just take your time, take a step away from it, and say, we'll come back to this later. There is not one right way to resolve conflict. I don't have all the answers here, but if you remember that the goal is resolution, the road will always be easier along the way. Thank you so much for listening. Again, this is Tanisha Dawson. You can subscribe to my channel. I'm a holistic life coach, and if you want to contact me, you can also reach me at lovetherapies@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.